Good morning, everyone. A little birthday card today. Simple design with a simple little man holding a balloon out on his property. That's the paper I'm using. It's a 5x7 and it's on a block, so I've taped off around the outside there just to frame the painting when it's done. So I'm going to start by wetting the page with my hockey brush. A little bit of clean water, just getting it damp so I can go in and put the sky. I'm working my way around the little cottage and around the hills in the background. In the upper right, I've got one of my mailing stickers to mask out the sky, and that's obviously where the balloon is going to be. So for the upper part, I'm using a Payne's Gray and dropping in some indigo to make it a little bit darker. I like to have a little bit of character in the sky, so I'm using raw sienna in the middle of the sky here. Now I probably should have had my board flat to do this because the paint, having a mind of its own, is running down to the bottom, so I'm going to have to go into control mode here and start mopping out and stopping the flow of the paint. Here, just lift out a bit, lift out some clouds in the middle of the sky, right like that. And there I seem to have slowed the flow of the paint. So now I can add a little more raw sienna, and again, just to create a little more character in the sky. And there, everything seems to have settled. So now that it's dried, I can go in and do my foreground, and that's a really rich mixture of cadmium yellow. And while it's wet, I'm putting in some sap green in the immediate foreground. And right at the horizon line there, I like to have that a little bit lighter, so I was just lifting out a bit of paint. So for the roof, I'm using my little 1/4-inch flat brush there. And that is quinacridone burnt orange. It's a Daniel Smith paint that I got from Amazon as part of a 3-pack, and it's very, very similar to burnt sienna. So there's not a whole lot of detail in this painting, so I can just fill in the roof and pretty well leave it as is. Not going to worry about textures and all that sort of stuff. Now I've got a number 2 round there, a little brush, and I'm just painting in the chimney, a bit of Davies Gray, and it just dropped in a little bit of some blues in there as well, just to make the color a little bit interesting. And now I'm going to work on my shadows. Now the shadows are really going to define this little cottage or house, and that is a combination of Payne's Gray, and I've got quite a bit of ultramarine in there, and I put in a bit of purple as well. So I've determined that my light is coming from the right, so all the shadow is going to be cast over to the left. So that little addition to the cottage or house is going to have a bit of shadow cast on it from the main part of the house. And little windows, using a little spotter brush there, and just painting those in with Payne's Gray. Now for the hills in the background, that's just a little bit of ultramarine and a bit of the purple. Seeing as they are back in the distance, I don't want to have them too dark, so I'm going to add a little bit of water to that just to lighten them up a bit. And of course I'm being careful to not paint over the lines here, not paint over my little man. Careful in the crotch area there. And there, now with it all filled in, I am going to lift out a bit here, just add a bit of water and just lift out a bit of paint along the horizon line just to push them back a little bit further. just provide a little bit of atmosphere between the foreground and the background. So with it all dried, I can go in and start inking the cottage. I'm using the Rotring 0.25, super fine point, and of course it's waterproof ink. And there, I can just work around all the little details. Bit of a challenge because the paper is rough, and the point on these guys sometimes gets caught in the little grooves. Now I can get over to my my little gentleman here. Now as I'm inking this, I'm looking up at that sticker and wondering if the paint crept in underneath. I don't know if you ever, when you paint your house and you use painter's tape and you got your whole wall done and then you lift up the tape and it's all the paint is seeped in underneath the tape. Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now while I'm looking at that sticker. Go to all this, you get the whole painting almost done and then you lift it up and anyway, so that's while I'm making, that's what I'm thinking about. And for the skin tones, just use a little bit of orange. And a little bald head there. And of course, painting pants, they have to be mustard, so mustard colored pants on this guy. Even go a step further, let's just pretend they're corduroy. And then we're going to ground them out with a bit of shadow here. So now I'm wondering if that sticker actually did what it was supposed to do. So let's lift it up. Moment of truth here. And there you have it. It looks like it did what it was supposed to do. So now comes the second part of the challenge, keeping the paint inside that white circle. So I'm using a cadmium yellow with a big brush. I think that, yeah, I got the number 12 going there. I'm making it really wet because I want the underside of the balloon to be a bit, you know, a little bit darker because I do have some light coming from the right. So really, really wet mixture, trying to stay within the lines. And I had a little cheat there. While the camera's off, I put a little dab of masking fluid on the balloon for the highlight, the really bright spot on the balloon. So here, I don't want to overpaint this. I've got it filled in, so I'm just putting even a little bit more yellow to run down to the bottom there. And hopefully it darkens up. And while that is drying, I just put a little more, a little darker mixture of green. So that's just a little bit of the blue, a little bit of the purple, and some sap green in the immediate foreground. And my balloon is still drying, so I'm going to paint this guy's sweater. Nice red sweater. That's cadmium red, and I'm just going to lift out a bit on the shoulders there because that's where the light's hitting them. Probably should have a hat on. So there, I lifted up the masking fluid, and now I'm just lifting out a bit of paint around it just to soften those edges and give the balloon a bit of a highlight there up at the top. So this last bit is requires a bit of steady hand. I'm doing my very best to trace around that balloon and get it inked in. Again, bit of a challenge with the rough paper and a very fine point pen. But there we have it. So I'm going to get this guy signed. And we'll get the tape off it. And there you have it, little birthday greeting. Little man holding a balloon on his property. Thanks for dropping by. And we'll see you again soon.